Go ahead.
Hi, Jordana Seligman, Success Machine here with Jason Snyder. We're here to talk about Abraham Hicks videos that we've been studying. The featured one right now is mechanisms that activate instant manifestation and other things to that regard. Go ahead, Jason. We were having an interesting chat before we went on here. Continue, please.
Yeah, I was just kind of saying how it's interesting how well for one thing, you can create something just on the will, on demand if you choose to do that. So that's when the manifestation part comes in too. But it's interesting how I've like done a lot of soul searching and kind of put myself in trying to think from subconscious nature to be more conscious about everything around me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny because some things would come up and I've been reverting back to stuff that happened to me. Not stuff that happened to me, but stuff I have learned in, let's say 1996, 1995, sitting in a philosophy class. I went to school, and I went to college, and, I was a terrible student, right? And I think I got a D in the philosophy class. However, philosophy resonates a lot with me because I do have my own personal philosophy for one, and I do love to learn about just philosophical ways. I have philosophies about everything, right? I philosophize about a lot of things. But for some reason, just being in that class, I just didn't like it. I don't know if it was a teacher or if just my mindset at the time. So what always comes up, but what stuck to me was the philosophy of God. God is good, God is great, and then the philosophy of free will versus determinism. And there was a story, and this came to me yesterday when I was talking with a friend. He's having marital issues, and there's a story of a female how she was in this situation. She grew up in this situation, an abusive home, an abusive situation. And then when she grew up, got out of that situation, but she put herself back in these situations. So when someone else would come in that's, say, good for her, she's unconsciously doing this. She doesn't feel that person, she doesn't deserve that. So she would repel that relationship, but she's attracted to the relationship of bitterness and strife and fighting.
Familiar. So it's familiar. It's familiar vibration.
Yes. So she's not familiar with what's good for her. She's only familiar with what's bad for her. So she repels what's good for her, and is attracted to what's bad for her. Well, fast forward from 1995, 1996. Fast forward to today or yesterday when I was having this conversation and we were talking about just how some people don't want to deal with stuff from the past, or some people don't want to, they know it's an issue and they know it's causing issues with what's around them, but they don't want to deal with it. And you really sometimes you really do have to deal with some of the stuff in your past and just let it go before you can spring forth for a better future. And then even on another level, last night I was thinking about I love quantum physics. I love how just how we're all in this field and we are all connected. Like it or not, I think we are all connected to source. Some choose to tap into it, some choose not to tap into it. But there's a term in anthropology, and I don't remember the term. I meant to research it before I ran out of time. There's a term that, say, if me today, with all of my technology and everything that I have, right? If I go into a culture that doesn't have the same technology, say an indigenous culture that's, and I show them my technology, I alter their state with what I have with my technology, right? I change the course of their way of life because I came in and affected it. And even on a quantum scale, even on a scale, it's like that because they're talking about something how you can split up an atom and how a person can come in and his vibration, his energy or his vibration can alter the state of that what's going on basically, right? But if you pull him out and then it happens naturally, if you're watching, it changes. If you're not watching, it doesn't change. So I don't know. I just had that thought, that vision last night, and it goes to show you that you can change for one, right? You can change if you choose to change, but you can also change or affect what's around you just sometimes by being at a certain point. If you want to even talk about Back to the Future, the movie, he always the doc always talked about, oh no, Marty, don't change that, Marty. Oh, don't kiss your mother, Marty. What are you doing? So he made a big deal about him altering the past because it's going to affect the future, and that's just so many. It just hit me on so many different levels last night.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And being from Colombia, one time I wanted to study indigenous cultures, and I had everything lined up to go to the Andes basically and study this one culture that used telepathic communication. But it really became I guess a concern for me that I would affect. They didn't like outsiders because they didn't want to affect their traditions, and I felt responsible for that, so I stopped the whole production that was going to happen. But further than that, I had relatives who had gone to indigenous tribes in the jungles of Colombia and told us that they would take pictures of them, which they refused, they hid from, and they'd sneak a picture and show it to them, and they did not see it as a picture. They saw it as a weird leaf.
Yes.
Because in their reality, there was no such thing as photograph, picture, camera. So they just felt that they were being spooked in some weird way, some voodoo something, and that weird leaves were chasing them to show them that they're there. They did not see themselves in the photograph. So this makes you think about what reality really is, and this brings me to the video that Esther Hicks, speaking on behalf of Abraham, says that, what is this reality that we're all defending, that we're all talking about? Because she, many times, not only in this video, explains that we get stuck on telling the truth because our mothers told us, tell me the truth about what happened, and I'm one of those people who likes to know exactly every detail of the truth and, to be honest. But she said the truth is really temporary. It's very squishy. It's very malleable. And that's where we have our power to create things as we want them to be, not as we see it necessarily.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Because if you're present in your present state, and which you should always be present in your present state, but if you can't paint a better picture for yourself, how are you gonna get to that point, right? So I think a lot of it is acting as if,
right,
all the time. And Greg Braden talks about it. He was talking about, he was with Indian chief, and they needed rain. Greg Braden.
Okay.
He's a metaphysicist. It's great.
I'm not familiar with it. Frank Braden?
Yeah, Greg Braden. He has a lot of stuff on YouTube. He was talking about just the matrix and or the field, basically. He calls it the field, and how there's basically there's no space between us. There's matter between. We can't see it, but there's matter between us, and we are all connected. And it even goes forth to a conversation we had earlier this morning. We can get into that a little later. But I think my point was, he talks about. Actually, I lost my point. But no, I'm playing. Let me get some coffee really quick, though.
Sure. They'll come back to you.
That he was just basically talking about an Indian chief needed rain, and there was drought, and so the Indian chief went into his trance, basically, right? He did what they call the rain dance. We talk about cowboys and Indians when we were kids, and then the rain dances and all that crazy stuff, right? But what happened was the chief, he went in, and in his meditation, he acted as if. He acted as if there was already rain. He acted as if the harvest has already grown. He acted as if the corn had already sprouted. He acted as if they're already harvesting the corn. He had in his mind that the rain had came, the crop has grown, and the corn was strong, and the harvest was great. And it was that easy, right? And what happened was they had rain. They had, so all that came into fruition because he acted as if he wasn't in the present moment saying, well, there is no rain. we're not gonna have any rain. There's no rain. We're in
It's
Asian
not
anyway.
raining anywhere.
Yeah, and so, and if you look at it, and if you think of, if you really believe something in your heart, and you tie that with emotion, the field, as Braden says, or the laws of attraction, basically would bring that to fruition. Now, it may not happen. It may not happen at when you think it's going to happen, but it will happen. Um, it's got to get. It's a process. It's like everything else. It's a process to working things out, and you have to align yourself up with it to make it happen too. So not only you have to believe it, desire it, and even the Think and Grow Rich book. You have to have the
Mm-hmm.
desire for it, that passion for it, almost as Napoleon Hill says, almost an exception for it, right? In order to bring it to fruition, and it will happen for you. But you have to really believe that it will
Mm-hmm.
happen, and you act as if, and but that belief too. And if you
Well,
talk
then,
to any, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Then.
Actually, if you talk to anybody successful, right? The Trumps, the Kiyosaki's, I can even take it back to an interview with El Cool J, and he said when he was a teenager, he would say, "I'm the greatest rapper alive," and then, "Oh, ha, ha, you ain't nobody," blah. But he had to believe that in order to achieve that, and that's what stuck in his mind. And then there's an interview with say Anthony Robbins and Frank Kern, I think another guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about when I don't know if it was Frank Kern or not, but he was talking about working at Blockbuster Video or some video store, and he would bring in entrepreneur magazines, and he'd bring in car magazines and look at Porsches, and it's the Porsches he's going to pick out when he was rich. Well, he's went on the story that one of the owners said, "Oh no, you shouldn't do that to yourself. Why torture yourself in that way?" He's like, "Well, you know what? That's your belief. That's your reality. I'm not going to let your belief, your reality affect my reality. There will be a day I will come back to the store. I will not be working here, and I will return movies to you when I'm driving in my Porsche, and I will drive off in my vehicle."
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it happened, right? Frank Kern is an ultra
Right.
successful man. So always acting as if, not lying. They say reality is reality, perception is reality. Well, perception is acting as if, like you already have it, and you will bring that to you.
Well, in this particular video of Abraham Hicks, she talks about that science has it backwards. Science says, when I see it, I'll believe it. But that's backwards. Because really, you have to have the belief first. Like, look at this country. Belief, it was a thought. It was a discussion. It was a meeting. It was a signing of the Declaration of Independence. It was a lot of things that happened before any evidence of America came. It wasn't like, oh, I saw America, so now there's America. It was thought. And I have a little story that I wanted to tell that explains this. And the neat thing is that this happened when I was in college, a long, long time ago. And, and it just became clear to me what it meant, what it meant after watching this video. I was living off campus, and there was a couple that lived together, and she was a nurse, he was a science major, botanist, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but they had a ferret. And I'm an animal lover, and I got to know them because their ferret would play in the field. There was a big field in the middle of all the apartments. And one day I ran into the guy, and he said his girlfriend was away. We started talking about science and plants, and he said, "Come up, I'll show you some science books that he had." And he was telling me some reptile books that I saw there, what they were, because I'm interested in reptiles, and he had wanted this yellowtail rat snake. Well, in the middle of that conversation, we were talking about UFOs, and he asked me if I believed in it, and I said, yes, I believed in UFOs and reincarnation and things of that matter. And he said, well, I'm a scientist, so I have to see it first before I can believe it. Anyway, I was going for a swim, so I left him and said goodbye. And there was a swimming pool in the middle of the apartments, and I started swimming. And it was nighttime, and I kept swimming, doing the breaststroke like a frog, and I kept feeling snake for some reason. I kept saying snake, snake. And I'm like, why am I feeling like a snake? And I just thought maybe it's relaxing me. And so I got out of the water and I looked on the cement, and there was a snake there, all stretched out. And I didn't know what to do, and I called him and said, Mike, Mike, come out. And he went out and he got it, and it was a yellowtail rat snake.
Wow.
Which I had never seen. I never knew what it was. And he's like, oh my God, I believe. And he was like, oh my God, what just happened? We were both like in shock. I was like, what happened? And like a few weeks later, there was a football game, and he was going upstairs. I was going downstairs, and I saw him, and he goes, I told my girlfriend what happened, and I believe now, I believe. And I thought, that's good, that's good. Why does he believe now that he saw it? And I was just kind of confused, but after watching Esther Hicks and her video, he was a scientist, and he had told me, you know, I have to see it first, but now he just believes, because where it came from, that we, in our conversation, created this snake that he wanted. His desire was there, and this was the other catch that she explains, not necessarily in this video, but I didn't really care whether the snake appeared or didn't. Because she said in one video that she and her friends like to practice manifesting things that they don't really care about. Because somehow when we care about it a lot, we enter a feeling of it's got to be hard to get, or I have to work hard to get it.
Yes.
Since none of that was present for me, because I didn't even know what a yellowtail rat snake looked like. I'd never seen one. I never cared for one. But I was a clearing for it to manifest, because I got his desire when he spoke it.
Yes.
And that's it. I wanted to tell that story.
That's a very interesting story, and true about the you want it so bad. We always want things so bad. We put so much pressure on it to happen, and instead of just kind of allowing it to let it to happen. And it just kind of goes to show you that if you just sit back and relax and visualize what you want, you can manifest it, right? Some instances you gotta work towards things, I believe, and some things just kind of manifest for themselves, just by sheer, that's just sheer like wow. How does that happen?
How does it happen?
Explain how it happens. It's just.
Well, just that there was Esther says a lot of times you just have to chill out. So we were literally just chilling out, having a conversation, and he expressed his desire, and I was like, okay, cool, so you want a yellowtail rat snake? Well, I'll let you know if I ever see one,
Yeah.
And even when I was looking at it, I wasn't sure what it was. I just knew it was a snake, and that he liked snakes.
Oh, okay, I see.
And that when he saw it, it was the snake he had been wanting.
You have a way of doing that around you. You have this aura of being able to help people create.
Oh, okay.
That's not the first time that's happened for you, right?
No, it's not the first time. And I was working as a vocational counselor because of that. I think that's kind of a calling for me to help people find their calling in life, to decipher that.
Okay. I remember the story about the boat.
I know.
Okay, which story is that?
Good, thank God.
When I think it was, I don't know if it was your brother-in-law who wanted a particular boat, and you put it on the dream board, and then a few weeks later you had it.
Yeah. No, that was in our house. My husband.
Oh, okay.
He wanted a boat. He was negotiating for it, and the owner was giving us a hard time with the price. And I said, well, what kind of boat is it? We downloaded pictures of the exact type of boat, put it on our vision board, and I told the kids to help me visualize this boat. And within a week, it was ours, and the seller had seller's remorse. So, I mean, he ended up giving in to the price that he didn't want to give in to.
Okay.
He didn't know what happened.
And that's a force.
But then there's my son. When he saw me making a vision board, he said, I'm going to make a vision board. And he's 10. I've told this story on YouTube before. He put a picture of a knife that he wanted. he put a picture of kids getting along because he wanted to get along better with his sisters, my 2 teenage daughters who are giving him a hard time now and then, like every day. And what else did he put there? Oh, money. And the neat thing is being 10, there's just a few things that were sticking out in his mind. He's a good student, so he didn't have anything about school.
Okay.
And one day he was looking in my trunk, and he found the exact knife that he put there on the vision board. And then I remembered a while back, my husband put it in the trunk to give to Darson, and it was the one he was looking for.
Oh, wow.
The exact knife. So a few months passed, and I said, well, what do you want to do to the vision board? He said, I got everything on it. I got more money, I'm getting along with my sisters, I got the knife. Take it down.
Time to scale up, right?
Right.
They really do work. They really do work. Yeah, the vision boards. You gotta visualize it in order to bring it towards you.
Yes, I definitely recommend it.
That's something that I have one on my phone, and so I like to go through it on my phone from time to time just to see. Well, I actually do it every day. You
upload pictures.
Yeah, so I play on a slideshow in the morning, and it's just stuff that I want. Because I'm a firm believer, what you want wants you, right? What you want wants you. That I just think that's a powerful statement. Yesterday I put on Facebook I am, and how I am is a powerful statement, right? And how I am bold, cunning, courageous, powerful, beautiful, wise, outstanding, successful. I just thought I am is, if you can sit down and just picture or write down I am whatever, I am courageous 50 times, right? And look at that, and just, I don't know, just for me, it gives me just this energy about myself that I am that, and no one can tell me anything otherwise than I'm not that, so I do a lot of work on myself. I do a lot of, it's not even my business. I just do a lot to improve myself, so I can help improve others. And I think that's my calling, is to help others, is to inspire and help others. As for example, for me, and the reason why I'm attracted to, say, this world of the vortex and being in line with yourself and the law of attraction, how to attract things to you, is I was going through a court battle, and in this court battle, it's going to be drawn out, and it could have, really, it could have put me away for a few months or longer. And what I asked for was, one, not to go to jail, of course, right? Right. Two was to use my story in a way to help others. Mm-hmm. And three was to clear myself of this from my past, right? So it doesn't happen again. And those three things all fell in line for me. I'm here today shooting a video on YouTube, right? For one, I tell my story on a weekly basis, because if I'm not positive or using what I've been through, what was once my I guess my crutch, right? And what I had to do to overcome that say crutch, and not saying how you can raise your energy level, your vibration level, so you're not in a conflicted zone all the time, but you come from a place of love and above, and instead of being in conflict with somebody, using your wisdom to actually bring somebody up to your level so they can see the world from your view, and just how silly some things are that some people do, right?
Right.
Some are, and some are, in Proverbs it says the ridiculers are basically you can't you can't speak wise to the stupid. You have to speak stupid to the stupid because the stupid don't understand the wise, right? So when you counsel with somebody who's wiser than yourself, and not you don't counsel with someone who's stupid because you'll get a stupid answer.
Right.
And so I always try to come from a place of when someone comes at me with conflict, okay, well, there's no reason for conflict, right? And really not waste my time with them unless they want to hear and be brung up to a different level. But a lot of people in conflict want to stay in conflict because that's all they know, and so they thrive on that and they revel in that. And if you paying attention to what's going on in the world right now, is we're in transition from conflict, from a Piscean conflicted age to a shift into an age of where we're going to be in a stance of love and above, right? Helping each other and not hurting each other. There's no greed, there's no fuss, there's no fighting, there's no conflict. We're all connected to begin with, so we will all be connected. And it's going to be a way to where we're using what we know to help each other. But in the plane of the earth, right, the way the earth is set up, it's going to be set up in a way that we're using technology at the benefit to the earth and not at the detriment of it. So we were in the industrial age where we had all this, trains and steam and fossil fuels and just all this stuff that they say kind of harmed our planet. Well, it's gonna evolve into us using the technology that we're creating today to actually help save the planet. So we're living off the resources of Earth and not necessarily using up the resources. Well, we're living off the resources of the universe, not using up the resources that we have here on Earth, but at our benefit instead of at our disposal.
Well, one of the Abraham Hicks videos, Esther says that on behalf of Abraham, we've seen the future and it is good, to put to rest a lot of the prepper type mentality that's out there, that we have to prepare for Armageddon and things like that. And she said, basically, which I was very pleased to hear, because as a mother of kids, I want to know, should I prepare for some impending doom or some explosion? And she said, it would take all the energy of the world to convince people to think politically one way or the other, and so really just focus on maintaining ourselves on a high-flying disc, on a high vibration.
Yes.
Thinking thoughts that really there's no room for this negative potentiality.
No, and that's, I think, a lot of like the doomsday preppers and all that
Right.
stuff. That's just a lot of fear. And
Absolutely.
and if you're
creating.
Yes, and fear is false emotions appearing real, right? You have an emotion that triggers a thought that isn't necessarily real or not. It's just
Right.
And it just, to some people it appears real, but if you live in the, and that's coming back to this age, this Piscean age, right? If you're living in a realm of fear, it's gonna hinder you from doing what's right, and you're gonna react accordingly. You're gonna have anxiety about things. You're gonna act according to that fear instead of acting according to what feels good and following what's joyful for yourself. Because our Creator, He wants us to have the best and be the best and feel the best and do what's best for our neighbor, right? That's right. And I have this picture I wanted to put on Facebook one day that said, the love thy neighbor. Well, that I was serious about that, because if you can't learn to love yourself, then you have to be able to learn to love somebody else. And so if you're coming from this in this inner conflict within yourself, that projects you're not going to be able to help somebody else, and then that's resonates with me so much because I had so much inner conflict with myself. It's because I wasn't being true to myself. And I couldn't love myself because I couldn't be true to myself. And there's so much going on. And I can blame whoever else I want to blame for what I had going on inside me. What it comes back to, it was just me as a person not being able to, I guess, be present in the moment and not being able to just kind of clear myself of what I had going on inside me. or the what I call it, it's serving two masters, right? You know,
Right.
you have things that you want to do or things that you should do, things that are right, but you're doing things that are wrong. But if you come from a point of righteousness, and then everything around you starts to change. You know, the sun is brighter. You know, the flowers blossom more in the blossom more in front of you. The birds start to sing, and it just everything just seems more brighter and more happier. Now I'm painting that as a picture, as to say, you know, not that I'm Mary Poppins, but if you pay attention to what's around you, it just change. If present to everything, it just changes your whole outlook on everything.
Well, what you're saying is describe what Esther Hicks is saying. When you get up to speed with who you really are, then everything lines up, your vibration lines up with who you really are. And what you're describing was you were in conflict with yourself. Very well said. I guess a lot of people can relate to that at some point in life. That, you know, basically we are frustrated, or you see people fighting or anxious because they're really inside, they're not a match-up to who they really are. For whatever reason, they're not aligning with who they, in their inner being knows who they really are, who they're supposed to be, but they're not aligning with it. So it's a frustration, it's a gap. And when you're in that gap of unalignment, that's where conflict expresses itself.
Yes, it's a inward outward expression of what's going on inside you. You know,
right.
And you can try to like hide who you are, but you know it always comes out. You know, and as darkness, light always comes to darkness. So the truth, like they say, the truth always comes out. You know, like it or not, it always happens. It always comes out. So, but if you're righteous in your thoughts and righteous in what you're doing, then you know it's just what it is. What it is. There's no other way around it because it's just what's right. And some people may not be able to resonate with what's right, but what's right is what's right, and what's wrong is what's wrong. And not to say that you can't, everyone does some wrong in their life, but we all know what's right from wrong, and if you're doing wrong, it's going to come out somehow.
Well, for you and I, we've been on this path, and for other people studying these things, it's a matter of fact, when it's right and when it's wrong. But Esther Hicks lays it out pretty quickly and easily by saying that we have our emotional GPS system, our emotional gauging system. It's our inner guidance system that we were born with, and we're supposed to be listening to it. And, when it feels right, when you're going upstream, you go with it. When you're going downstream, it's an indicator that you're out of alignment with who you really are, who you want to be. And, well, it's also, that's the other thing, just the emphasis she puts on feeling good.
Yes.
I wish I would have known this years ago when I was starting my path to motherhood, how important feeling good is. And now I'm kind of in awe and thinking of how unimportant it was in my upbringing. You just dealt with whatever life was throwing at you, like a splatter of paint. You just dealt with it. But Esther says, or Abraham rather, that feeling good should be much more important to us than we're making it.
Yeah, definitely, and it really should. I mean, I think a life. And so we're here to be happy.
Enjoy. Right? It's supposed to feel good.
They say you get one life to enjoy it. So, what I found on this path is I tend to attract myself to what feels good, and if, for example, I had my aura read, and she was amazed at the picture that came out, right? Mm-hmm. And she says, you're very aware of what's around you. And then she says, whenever you feel something isn't right, don't do it.
Right.
I'm also, I feel energy from people too. And if something it just doesn't feel right, I don't resonate with it. I'll walk away from it. And I don't know if I told you the story about when I was growing up. There's people that really wanted to hang out with me when I was growing up, but I didn't want to hang out with them. And this one guy, for example, um, always wanted to hang out with me. Well, hey, Jason, and I'm talking about 19 years old, but I was just, I don't know, just something just didn't feel right. So I didn't
Mhm.
resonate with him, and I always would try to stay away from him. And goes to show you, years later, we're hanging out with another friend of mine that they're connected with. We're all kind of connected together.
Mhm.
And then goes to find out, a few years later, this guy's just into like devil worshiping and all this
Oh
other kind of stuff
wow.
came out of from that. And oh gee, no wonder why I didn't want to hang out with him. So my sensories were up even when I didn't know they were
Mhm.
up, and I was able to feel things from people without even knowing it.
Mhm.
And I've kind of went back and backtracked a lot of things, and a lot of, if you, they say your conscious mind, your subconscious mind is like a recorder. It remembers everything.
Mhm.
So if you're able to tap into that, you can just find out. You can just rewind the tapes, basically, right? And find out so much about what's going on, and you can go back and you can let stuff go that you may have been hanging on to for so long. You can let those things go and just move and press forth and move on, because we have so much, say, what they call emotional baggage within us that we hang on to, we cling to, and sometimes if you're trying to go a certain way, if your minds aren't working together, one mind is going this way and the other mind's going that way, and you're stuck in the middle. Again, you're serving two masters. But when they're kind of together, congruent with each other, and you're doing something, it just feels so good doing it because it's what's right. And
Right.
they're working together as one. Your mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, I just want to throw out there the best relationship, or one of the best relationship books ever read was by Harville Hendrix. I forget the name of the book. Every time I had it in my hand, I gave it out, but it was his first book. He wrote two. That the first and the second. I don't know if he's written a third, but the first one is the only one I recommend.
His,
And
his,
he explains that basically every relationship is designed to get you back to the initial relationship that you had as a baby. Why we call each other babe and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's actually a pretty good
and
concept.
it's really deep.
Because if you
Right.
look at any of the successful people, they have this childlike mentality. I mean, just think about it. When you're a kid, you're dreaming and you're imagining all the time, right? That's all you're thinking about. You're thinking about, oh, I can do this, I can do that. You have this wide imagination about you
Right.
all the time, and we tend to lose that as we get older. We lose our imagination, we lose our thoughts. Our thoughts are
Love it.
consumed with watching TV.
Um,
Your thoughts are consumed
right.
with, hanging on the internet and watching, people like Jordan and I.
Yeah.
No, I'll play. Or scheming to do something evil. So, or scheming to something good. You can scheme either way. But your
Mhm.
thoughts are just kind of change. You go to work and you come home and you watch TV. You get lost. You're caught up in some kind of entertainment, whatever entertains you. Reality TV or whatever it may be. And you forget to, say, read a book. You forget to look into yourself. You forget to think about who you resonate with, or who you resonate with yourself as a person. You forget to just kind of have that inward introspective type thinking so that you can better yourself. And all this is about bettering yourself as a person. And if you're not trying to better yourself as a person, you're really just waiting to die if you're not trying to do anything exciting with yourself. So you're sitting there waiting to die by being entertained by this television while all of this stuff is going on around you, and it's going to go on around you regardless to what you feel or what you think. But you have to be present and be honest with yourself about a few things. And when that happens, I think your world starts to change.
Definitely. Well, it's like when I was watching my kids when they were little, I kept saying to myself, I want to watch them play and encourage all kinds of play, because at some point it's over. The playtime
Yes.
is over, and I would ask myself, what do we replace it with as adults? What takes the space of playtime? Because it's so important. I could see how they get creative, and I guess work, and that brings us back to what kind of work would be the most creative work. for each person, what's the right kind of work for everybody, something they can create and play with, bring out that inner child and be creative with.
Yeah, and I believe that we all have our own set of skills that were given to us, unique to us. I think that with these skills, we're given to use and turn. That's our wisdom, basically, right? With whatever our skill is, we're able to use that to create an income for ourselves, right? Um, it can be a wide range of things, right? I think my thing is transformation and personal development, and to help others see a better future for themselves. But it's also in writing too. I love to write, and so you weave all that together, and I think that's my calling. And I know it's really my phone just went off. I said that.
Good timing. You're lining up with your surroundings.
I'm able to control that too. See, special powers I got. I'm totally kidding, But we all have this.
We do have special powers.
Yeah, I don't want to brag though. Like Jason, you got special power. Hey. I believe that's my calling is to help others and to lift up the spirits of others, and that's why I'm so sure. That's why what I've been through there was purpose behind what I've been through, and my stories will help to influence and inspire others that if I can do it, if I can overcome something, so can you. And that's what it comes down to.
What Abraham calls a contrast. The different texture of life can't always all be, lollipops and roses, because we wouldn't know the difference. We wouldn't appreciate it. It wouldn't have any growth impact on us because it'd be all the same. So we have to experience some contrast to, enjoy life more.
Well, that's when you expand.
Right. And we're ever expanding.
Ever expanding.
There's always going to be some contrast at different degrees, some more than others, that to help us expand.
Yes. Definitely. Well, that's what it's all about. It's all about expanding as a person, just being better, expanding your knowledge, expanding your influence, expanding your wisdom, expanding who you are, so that you just feel good about everything that you're doing as you're expanding. It's all about feeling good about what you're doing.
That's right.
Finding joy and love in that.
Important words.
Definitely. Do you want to end it there? Or do you want to leave a final shot?
I think that's a good spot.
Okay. Do you have a final shot?
Well, to find what makes you feel good, that's aligned with who you really are at your core, and milk it for everything you've got.
Beautiful. I love that. That's so true.
And you?
You know what? It's just that you're given imagination and dreams, and you're given that dream for a reason. That there's a passion that's kind of docile inside all of us, and I think that if something inside you resonates with you, as far as wanting to do something different than what you're doing now, and if you're unhappy in a situation, if a situation is actually bringing you down, if your vibration level, your energy level around something is not where it should be at, and you know that you have this calling to do something greater than what you're doing now, follow that passion, follow that dream. It's there for a reason. It's to give you, it's telling you that you can do something bigger than yourself. And as you start to do something bigger than yourself, as you start to explore it, you start to expand that within you, you can have that feeling of accomplishment, and it could be something as minuscule as, say, enrolling back to school. Can be something that's not nothing minuscule. That can be something as simple as just enrolling back into school. Can be something that's just maybe getting a promotion or finding a new job. It can be whatever, starting your own business. It can be whatever you want it to be, but you have to believe in yourself as much as I believe in you. And with that belief that you have that you can do it, you will do it. You will make it happen. Just because somebody tells you no, or someone around you tells you you can't do something, just because there's a little thought in your head telling you not to do something, that's just fear talking. That's that false emotion. That's that you're making appear real to yourself. It's not real. Remove the ego. Get outside yourself, but inside yourself, but outside yourself, and you can make anything you want happen in your life.
Amen.
Amen. We'll leave that now. You guys have a great. See you next Thursday.
See you next Thursday.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.